Page.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Thank you to those who helped continue our pace to get through Shas. Today is Daf Tes, like Tessie, right? Tes. I'm an Maseches Moed Katan. 6 lines from the top. We were discussing one should not go ahead and marry during Chol Hamoed. So the Gemara and the bottom of the previous Amud gave several different reasons. One of them is Ein Marvin Simcha B'Simcha. We don't join two Simchas. So Zak the Gemara 6 lines from the top on Testament Aleph. With Ein Marvin Simcha B'Simcha Minolan. So if I'm weird, we know that one should not go ahead and join or combine Simchas. The pasuk says V'yash Shlomo Beisahi as a Chag V'Chol Yisrael Imo Kahal Gadol Milavo Chamas Al Nacham Mitzrayim. They all came to the big great Simcha Lifnei Hashem Elokeinu Shivas Yomim. They celebrated the Binyan HaMikdash, right, for 7 days. The Shivas Yomim. And then another 7 days of the holiday of Sukkot. So Arba'asar Yom, 14 days. Now, and if you can go ahead and combine Marvin B'Simcha B'Simcha, even you said the Marvin B'Simcha B'Simcha, if you can go ahead and combine Simchas, so why don't you just save everybody from traveling for 2 weeks, right? They can just go ahead and chop all together, right? Just, delay it 7 days, then have your 7 days of celebration, and the same time is 7 day celebration of the holiday of Sukkot.
So that year they did not have Yom Kippur.
So let's see, very good. Let's see. Sagar says, Sagar says, I the meantime loy matrina, right? Vehechi de avdina. So maybe just means that you can't go ahead and delay it, but if it would fall out at the same time, you can go ahead and do it. So Gemara says, no, even if that, because it came out a week before, so therefore it didn't fall out. But if it would have fell out, they finished at the same time, right? Construction was a little faster, right? It's not like, our public dollars, our construction, takes 30 years or whatever it is, right? So he said, if it would have taken a little longer, they would have done it. So Gemara says, okay, right? So, okay, so leave over a little bit, right? Delay a little bit at the end. So therefore you could basically, not put the final blow, right? You could basically all be done except for, just the ending, and the ending we'll do it together, and therefore you can go ahead and have the celebration. So our answer is Shir Binyan Beis Hamikdash Lo Yimesharina. No, we don't delay at all the Beis Hamikdash. See, in terms of when they finish building, in terms of the inauguration. So you boil the Shiri B'Ama. So what about like the final B'Ama Kliya? All right. So Bar says, okay, why don't you just go leave over like the top? By the top stone on top, they had a crow chaser. Right? They put up things to keep away the birds, so they wouldn't go ahead and land there. So my answer is no. That is part of the Binyan Habayis. No, it was even that part, that aspect, that which used to go ahead and basically the spikes on top that would go ahead and scare away the crows, right? It was also right. That was also part of the Binyan Mikdash, and therefore that also you don't delay. So Ella rather by the fact the pasuk says Mishnei Ksiv, it says Arba Sim Yom. So why it says 14 days? So Shivas Yom Lamali. So why does it say 7 days and 7 days, 14 days? Why do you need the 7 days? Just say 14 days to celebrate it. Shema Mina Hani Luchut Hani Luchut. All right, so you learn from here that each one is separate. They're separate. In other words, they happened to finish first. They had 7, and they had 7 ones afterwards. And Amar Rav Parnach, Amar Rav Yechon. So therefore, we see they can't marvel Simcha Simcha. Each one is its own time, and therefore it's its own celebration. And Amar Rav Parnach, Amar Rav Yechon. That year, Lo Asu Yisrael as Yom Kippurim. That year they didn't do Yom Kippurim, like Eddie pointed out, right? If you do 7 days before Sukkot, right? It overrides, from the 8th day of Tishrei, right? It's going to pass over the 10th of Tishrei, so there's no Yom Kippur. They were worried. They were saying, perhaps, it's always they use a nickname when they want to say, the destruction of Bnei Yisrael. They don't say Bnei Yisrael, so they say the enemies, right? The haters of Israel, or perhaps deserving of destruction that year for not keeping Yom Kippur. They're all worried. So Yatsa Baskol, so out came a Baskol, the heavenly voice, all of you are Mezumnam L'Chayelam Haba. And my Darish, and where was the Darshan? So why do you think that there's no Yom Kippur that year? So Amar Kal V'Chomer. So they said a Kal V'Chomer. Mishkan Shein Kedushas Kedusha. This.
No, I mean in Masechet.
Yeah. I'm sure he sometimes brings it down.
was also Masech
Yeah.
Shabbat to details about the
Yes.
Aaron, the dogs that didn't.
Oh, yeah, we'll get there soon. Yeah. We'll get that part. That comes up. Yeah,
And
that
I
part
was
is
thinking
weird.
it was also
Shas. Yeah.
mentioned like this in Masech Shabbat.
I don't know if this part, but definitely the end they have it. Yeah. Shabbos
What
Lamed,
did it say?
The first Shabbos Lamed, Shabbos Lamed.
Lamed
Okay.
Lamed.
Yeah, okay.
So Gemara says, so why do they think they did not do Yom Kippur that year? So Kavachemer. Mishkan Shem Kedusha Kedusha Ayla. The Mishkan, its Kedusha is not forever. The Karban Yachid and the Karbanos that were brought were on behalf of the Nisim Daicha Shabbos, and they overrode Shabbos Mr. Skila, which is Mr. Skila. So Mikdash, the Kedusha, so Kedusha Ayla. It's whose mikdash is the kedusha is forever. The karban sibur, right? It's the karban that was brought on Yom Kippurim, right? Excuse me. It was the inauguration one, and that was that which you brought during the Chanukah Zabayis, right? It was the karban sibur. The Yom Kippurim, the Rosh Karnas, only on Rosh Karnas, now Rosh Kilo Koshke, and certainly that should override. So Ella, Amai, how you do? If that's the case, so why were they worried? So Hasan Tzarech Gavoa. Over there was Tzarech Mishkan. Hacha, but over here it's Tzarech Hadyot. Over here it was only Tzarech Hadyot. In other words, they were eating and drinking, right? So Tzarech Hadyot. I understand. So do have the party, right? Have the party. Just don't eat or drink on that day. So my answer is no. They could not have had a simcha without eating or drinking. Mishkan.
So they derived that they should have a 7-day celebration
Correct.
from the fact that when we made the Mishkan, we had a 7-day.
No. Their offerings were overriding Shabbos. So their celebration was overriding Shabbos. So therefore, our celebrations should override the Yom Kippur.
Talking about the Aaron that
I
didn't
see.
eat the
Yeah.
whole.
No.
Yeah,
The
because
Mishkan-
you see,
the by the Mishkan.
Right.
The
I see.
Nisim brought
Over
Korbanos
12
on Shabbos.
days.
Every day, even Shabbos, as we'll soon see.
12 days, one of those days was Shabbos.
So we see if that override, if the Mishkan could override Shabbos, so the Mikdash, which is more chomer than the Mishkan, could override Yom Kippur, which is less than Shabbos because no Isra Skila. So Gemara says, "Well, Mishkan dachi Shabbos Melan." And where did they say that they were dachi Shabbos? Melan say the pasuk says by Yom Harishon v'Yom Hashvi says on the first day and the 7th day. So Dilma Shvi leKarbanos maybe means the 7th day that they were able to bring Karbanos. Maybe they skipped Saturday and they just the 7th. So Sunday was day 1, and then the next Sunday was day 7, and that was Saturday wasn't day 7. It was just like throw a day off. They used a 6-day week. So Amar Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak, the pasuk says no. Bayom Ashdei Asar Yom. On the 11th day, it says B'yom Ma Yom Kula Ratz. So just like a day is continuous, it's 24 hours continuous. Avash Day Asar Yom Kula Ritzuf. And so too, the 11 days were 11 days straight. In other words, there wasn't a break for the Saturday for the Shabbos. Or right. Maybe it means only the 5th days. See? So there was another passage that says once again, it says B'yom Shneim Asar Yom on the 12th day. Ma yom kula ratzav, just like a day is continuous. Av shneim asar yom, so do the 12 days were kula on the we're continuous without a break for Shabbos. Maybe just means that 5th days, there's 12 straight 5th days, i.e. take out the Saturdays. Same Kane. If that's the case, Trey Cry Lamali, why do you need them both to say b'yom? Obviously, b'yom is telling you to repeat it to say that it was each and every day consecutive and there was no breaks for Saturdays. And where do you see that by the Mikdash, the Redechas Yom Kippur Minalan? So Ilaim Midachsid Arba Asar Yom. Maybe it says the 14 days, and therefore maybe it was 14 consecutive days, and 7 days before Sukkot would be also Yom Kippurim. But Dil Yom Eruv, right? Maybe it means 14 days, not including Yom Kippur. So my answer is Yom Yom Mehasam. We learned that Gzer Shav Yom Yom, just like over here, 14 days. It was consecutive days. You didn't take out any Saturdays. You didn't take out Yom Kippurim. So too, or you didn't take out Saturdays when it comes to the Mishkan. So too, they didn't take out Yom Kippur when it comes to the Beis Hamikdash. And Uminalan, and excuse me, so Yasa Baskal V'Yamar Lam Kuchen. Therefore, Baskal came out and says Kuchen Mizun L'Chayil Lo Haba. All you guys deserve the Chayil Haba. It's a uminalan dachilahu, and where do we see that they were Michael that such a the Basco came out the Tani the Chalifa taught Vayom Hashmini Shalach Esam Ve'Rechus HaMelech. It says on the 8th day they sent out the people of Rechus HaMelech right? Vayechol Olam Smechim v'Tavi Lev Al Kol Tov Asher Asa Hashem LeDavid Avdo U'Yisrael Amo. All right. So it says over there. It says on the 8th day, right? That he sent them out and he blessed them all the goodness. In other words, basically, you did good. On the 8th day, he sent them all home. Everything was good. And what does it mean? They went back to their tent. They found their wives were Batahara. They were purity. None of them were Nida, Smechim, and they were happy. Shinanum Aziv Hashchina, that they enjoyed. They got the pleasure from the Shechina, right? From Hashem's presence. Right? The Tovi Lev. The Tovi Lev means over there that each one of them went. Their wives became pregnant with male children, and Al Kol Tova. And for what Al Kol Tova? How do you dash Al Kol Tova? Sheyas the Basco. From here we see that the Basco came out. V'amar lehem kulchem azum l'chayil haben. All you guys observing of chayil haben. So he said the David Avdo Yisrael Amo. But then it says to the David, his servant Yisrael Amo. So Bishlam Yisrael Amo. I understand that Yisrael Amo de'achilu of Yom Kippur. So Yisrael Amo says they were blessed. In other words, you guys, everything was good for Yom Kippur. Don't worry about it. Right? No worries about Yom Kippur. Elo David Avdo the Niminian. Elo the David Avdo Mai. But the K of David Avdo. What did he do? So Amar Yehuda Amarav. So it says Rabbi Amarav. There's also a Gemara over there in Shabbos. So B'Shash should be Shlomo Lachis on the Mikdash when Shlomo Melech wanted to go ahead and bring the Aron into the Mikdash. Davku Sharon Zelazet. The gates closed. Amar Shlomo Esrim Arban Renanos. And Shlomo Melech went ahead and said 24 different songs and prayers. Nana didn't answer. Pasach V'Yam, and then he began to say Sushar Mashechem V'Chulei. He said the pasuk on Sushar Mashechem. Lo Nana, and he was not answered still. Kevan Shema Hashem Elokim Al Tashev Penei Meshichecha. Zachar lechaste David Avdecha, right? Remember in the merit of the chesed of David HaMelech, miyad nena, immediately it was answered and the gates open. So the mentioning of David HaMelech was there, which basically, made the gates open up. And b'yoseh during that time, nafchu preisene David kashule kadera. At that time, all the haters of David and those who were against David HaMelech, their faces, black, and they were embarrassed. Like that of the battle of Pat. The Yodu Hakol Shemachla Kadosh Baruch Hu Oisav. Kadosh Baruch Hu has forgiven for the avon of which they said that he sinned with Basha. Fine. Period. Rabbi Yona's son Ben Asimai, Rabbi Yehuda Ben Gerim, the two of them, Tanu Parshas Nedarim Bei Rabbi Shimon Echad. They went to go ahead and learn the Nedarim, the discussion of Nedarim, the section of Nedarim by Rabbi Shimon Echad. So Iftar Minei Barsa in the night. So they left him at night. They said goodbye. Let's suffer. Hadur come after Minei. So they gave him Shalom Aleichem, we're leaving at night. And then the next morning, they also gave him Shalom Aleichem, we're leaving. He's question, what's going on here? Samalu, I've lost your Minei Barsa. What? Didn't you leave me last night? You said goodbye last night. Why are you saying goodbye again in the morning? Right? It's opposite of me. I just leave without saying goodbye, right? So I'm late and say goodbye twice. I'm late. I was saying Rabbeinu. We learned Talmud if you have a Talmud who's leaving his Rebbe, the Lon Ba'Isayir, he's leaving his Rebbe, and that night he still says he's in town. Tzarich liiftar bimeno pamacheres. You should also leave him again. In other words, say goodbye at night, and then since you stayed overnight in town, you got to go ahead and say goodbye in the morning. Shinamar, the pasuk says, "Bayom hashmi shalach hasa'am." This is the pasuk we just brought. That's why I bring this ma'isa. So Bayom hashmi shalach hasa'am ve'yirchu es hamelech, right? He blessed them on the 8th day. Now the 8th day is the 22nd, right? Is that Chavbes, right? So if you start from 15, right. So day 8 is the 22nd on the calendar. And it says, it says there on the 23rd day, he said the people out. So what's going on here? Why twice? Referring to the 8th day from
Which is Shmini Atzeret.
Right.
Which is Shmini
Right.
Atzeret.
Right, which is right. It was day, if you count, right? 15, 16, 17,
Right.
18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 8 days, right?
Right.
22nd was 8th day, right? So it says, we can, the Talmud Janita Mirabo, the Lambi Eisir, Serchli Tamimena Pamacher. So somebody's staying in the same town, then go ahead and say, give a Shalom Aleichem, or that you're leaving again the next morning. So after this told Rabbi Shimon Echai, they told this Joshua, so Amalei the Brace, he told the son of Shimon Echai, these two men are Tamil Chachamim.
Go and get bracha.
Zil Gabeyan Divarchu. Go ahead and get a bracha. So Azil, so he went to go ahead and get a bracha. Ashkenaz to call Rami Kra Dadis. He saw that they were darshing two psukim. See, one pasuk says, "Palas me'al raglecha v'chodecha yichanu." One pasuk says, go ahead and basically measure the ways of your, measure the ways, and then go that way. See, even one of the pasuk says, "Arechaim pen tefalis," right? Go ahead and don't measure, right? Go ahead and don't measure. So one is telling you, right? The first one is telling you that if you have two mitzvahs in front of you, right, you should go ahead and weigh the two mitzvahs, whichever one's the bigger mitzvah, do that mitzvah. And the other one's saying, just go ahead and do the mitzvah, right? And don't start making cheshbonos, right? So it's a contradiction, it's a stira. So like kasha, kan shemitzvah she'ef shalos asaydeach acherim, kan the mitzvah she'ef shalos asaydeach acherim. If you have two mitzvahs in front of you and one of them can be done by somebody else, then go ahead and you could go ahead and say, okay, I'll do the bigger mitzvah, someone else will do the other mitzvah. But if it's just basically a mitzvah that someone else can't do, you go ahead and do the first one. You don't make cheshbonos. And Hadar Yasvi, and furthermore, he heard the darshan where the pasuk says, right? It refers to the Torah, right? It's more precious than all your possessions, right? And they're not equal to it, right? But sounds like Chavsei Shemaim, i.e. those things that are items of Shemaim, i.e. mitzvahs, right? Those can outweigh Torah. So this is just saying Torah outweighs all your matters, but it doesn't outweigh mitzvahs. See, now the pasuk says, "Kol chavatzrim lo yeshuv," right? Nothing is equal to Torah. Even those matters, even mitzvahs, aren't equal to Torah. So it's a contradiction. So once again, if it's a mitzvah someone else can go ahead and do, so go ahead and have the other person do a mitzvah, and you can learn Torah. But if it's a mitzvah that someone else can't do, and this mitzvah needs to be done, then you go ahead and do the mitzvah, and you don't learn the Torah instead of it. And Amr Lei, so they saw he was there, the son of Shemar Chai. So they said to him, "My boys, what are you doing here?" My father told me, "Zil gabayo dirachucha." Go ahead, to you guys before they leave and get a bracha. So they gave him a bracha. Yeh Rabba, the Tizra, right? So it's a couple items. We'll just explain each one. Yiratzon, may it be that you should plant, right, and not harvest. All right, doesn't sound good. Teyel v'latipek, right? You should go ahead and take bring in and don't take it out, or tapik and take out v'lateyel and don't bring in. Your house should be destroyed. Your house should be destroyed, and you should live in your temporary residence, your motel, whatever. And levav zerecha, your table should be a mess, right? It should be should be loud and messy. And you should not see the new year. So that was the bracha. So okay, fine. Yeah. So Kiyas the Gabi Avu came back to his father. So Amalei said to him, now they did not give you a bracha about Tzaron, but they seem to curse me, right? They seem to give me these bad things, right? So Amalei, so okay, what they tell you? Hachi b'hachi, Amalei, this is what they told me. He repeated what he told them. So Amalei, no, hinach kulu birchasaninu. All these are brachas, and I'll explain. You should go ahead and plant and not go ahead and harvest. You should have children, you should have sons, and they shouldn't die, right? You shouldn't go ahead and they shouldn't die. It gets better, right? Or you should go ahead and bring in, don't bring out. You should bring in daughter-in-laws, and your son shouldn't die. Right? The knows that they should leave. Now, if your sons die, then your daughter-in-law is not going to go ahead and nurse somebody else. So you should basically bring in and not bring out. And take lotel and also take out lotel. Right? You go ahead. Your daughter should go ahead and get married, and their husband should not die, because if they come back, then you're taken out, but you're bringing them back in because your daughters are returning to your house. Well, the hajj of the hajj, right? In order they should return to you. The chari beisach, and your house should be destroyed. And you should go ahead and settle in your inn, right? In your sort of like your temporary motel residence, right? The high alma, ushpizka, right? This world is like an inn, right? Va'i alma besa, and that world, in other words, when you die, that's permanent, right? The Chassid Pasuk says kirvam beisem le'elam, so azir kirvam ela kivram, right? Doesn't mean kirva amongst it, but whatever your kever, in other words, your kever, your grave is your house, right? Your grave is your permanent, right, residence. So in other words, your permanent residence, your grave should be destroyed, and you should be in your residence, your motel, right? A long life. In other words, you should be in this world. And your table should be a mesh, be was, right? With children and grandchildren, lots of young, they should all get married and they have a lot of kids and grandchildren at your table, so it'll be a loud, lively table. You should go ahead and see a new year. Your wife should not die. You should go ahead and marry somebody else and have a new Shana Rishona with another wife. So you should not see a new Shana Rishona. You should be with your wife, for a long time. Fine. So that was the bracha. Speaking of brachas, Rav Shimon ben Chalafta, one time he was doing a raf. So Amrlei, so he told the son, go ahead, the livracha. Go ahead to Rav, go get a bracha from Shimon Chalafta. So right? You should not embarrass and don't be embarrassed. That's what he told him. So he came home, he saw another one's up, right? So Amarle, my Amarlecha. So what did he tell you? So Amarle, Mila Biamahu, Amarle. He told me nothing, right? Nothing too important. So Amarle. So he told him what he said. So he said, no, this is the bracha that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave to Yisrael, gave to Bnei Yisrael. Because we learn as the pasuk says, v'achaltem. So the pasuk says, v'achaltem achol v'savoa v'laltem lo yevoshu ami li'elam. So you should eat and be satiated and be satisfied and be praised, right? And you will not be shamed, right? You will not be embarrassed, right? And then it says, v'yidatem ki v'ker v'sal ani, and you'll know that amongst Bnei Yisrael, lo yevoshu ami li'Yisrael. And my people, li'elam. Right, and right, Emilio. In other words, I said the Israel. Yeah. Right, so I said they should not shame. They're not ashamed for no. They should not be shamed and not have enough food. They should have everything they need, and they should not go ahead and shame others. And that was the bracha that he gave you. So don't say that was Mili Bialma, but rather that was the blessing that Kadosh Baruch Hu gave to Bnei Yisrael. Fine, back to the Mishnah. The Oitza Isha Tachshite. So our Mishnah and the Chesed Beis mentioned a couple of prohibitions. We have Cholamoid. We say over there, she can go ahead and do tachshite, right? Do her tachshitin, right? Her adornments. We'll soon see what that is. Rabbi Yehuda no tasi. She can't use the line. So what's going on here? So Tanraban elu tachshite nashim. These are tachshite nashim. These are things that a woman's allowed to go ahead and do. Cholamoid kochelas. She can go ahead and use kochelas. Right, the type of eyeshadow, right? Opakeses, and she can go ahead and part her hair or comb her hair or brush her hair, right? Maybe more than just brushing. Also, sort of some type of avoda, right? Umavira al paneh. She go ahead and put also blush or whatever on her face to remove the hair. Apokeses. Is removing, yeah. All right. What's that? Pokazes mechalekas se'ar lekan, right? Rashi's mechalekas like parting, right? Lekan, where's there's a little yud down here? I can't even find where the yud is. Huh? Yeah, pokazes, yeah. Fine. Right. I mean, it appears I has to be more because it seems like it's something which is asr and chalmai, right? And that was what's a big deal. So the Gemara says, so you can also, put some sort of blush, whatever, on her face. Some say, no, we're talking about srak. No, it's basically removing hair from her lower face, right? Which is a euphemism for her private area. So now it's removing hair from there. The B'siddur Rav Chisa. One time the wife of Rav Chisa mekashta be'ante kalasa in front of her daughters, right? And daughter-in-law. So Yosef Rav Huna Bar Chinana. Kamed Rav Chisa. So you sit before Rav Chisa, but Yosef only a young girl can do these things. But an older woman, right, to do this, it's low. She shouldn't be allowed to do this, right? There's no purpose. Yeah, after the slap, right? So Amarle, so he said, no. Look, my goodness, what your mother, even your grandmother, even a woman's about to go to her grave. The Amri, they say, Anshi Bashidzin. Kebas shis lakal tavla rata. So he says, no, a 60-year-old is just like a 60-year-old that when they hear the bells and the simcha, they hear it going on, they go ahead and run there. So every woman wants to run, doesn't matter the age, there's no age limit in terms of doing these, go ahead, these preparations, the makeup and stuff, there's mutter on Chol Hamoed. And Rabbi Yehuda Amir, also you can't go ahead and use lime, right? These lime, I guess, to remove hair, right? So but it's a big gross, right? It's a big gross for a while as long as they leave it on, but afterwards, then it has a good effect. So Tanya Rabbi Yehuda Amir, it's not a good. It's during Chol Hamoed. It's a maneuver to her. It's gross to her, and therefore you shouldn't do Chol Hamoed. However, Rabbi Yehuda says that if the lime can go ahead and be pulled off during Chol Hamoed, I guess not for several days. If you pull out during Chol Hamoed, then it's okay, because even though it's a mitzar now, it's going to be a simcha eventually. Does Rabbi Yehuda hold to this svar that something eventually is going to be good? It's accounted as if like it was done during that time. In other words, he wants to be matir this during Chol Hamoed because eventually it's going to be good. So does he hold to this svara? But tonight we go to the Mishnah. So we have a halacha in the beginning. So in terms of when it comes to the Goyish holidays, you shouldn't go ahead and pay or either collect or pay or collect from a guy in front of their holidays, right? So why? Because usually they're first, right, you can't pay them because they're going to be very happy. They're going to think their idols, my idol is good to me because I got paid today, right? We have these receivables and they're all closed. All our books are closed. Or even pay. You can't get money from them because that they're also going to be thankful for. And it's machlokes. Rabbi Yehuda and Ephraim had Pnei Shematzer, Sarmalo, and Avishi Shemetzer Achshav Sameachu Le'acher Zman. So Rabbi Yehuda says you can go ahead and you collect from them, right? Because it's a tsar. You take their money away right before Christmas or whatever it is. So you take their $100. So Rabbi Yehuda says mutter. The Rabbanan say no, it's not mutter. Why? Because they're going to be happy. So they pay their chov. It's good to pay down your credit card bill, even though it costs you money. You pay it down. So we see that even though it's something eventually which is good, Rabbi Yehuda says it doesn't count. We don't care about the future. We just care about right now. Right now, you're taking their money. It's mutter to do. So Rav Nachman, by Yitzchak Hinach leHilchos Moed, the Kul Mitzar Achshav Samech Lachar Zman, forget Chol Hamoed, because the Chol Hamoed, everything really, all that we're doing is not for the immediate gratification. It's afterwards, right? Such as cooking or baking, right? You're allowed to cook and bake. It might take a day, right? It's all work. It's not fun to do it, right? But eventually, it's for the end. It's for the end result, which is the bread, right? So over here, it's the end result is the removing of the hair. No, the reason over there is because they're never going to be happy that they paid the bill, even days later. And I'm Rabbi Yehuda. Says Rabbi Yehuda B'nai Yisrael Shegiel Perikan V'Legiel L'Shanim. If they begin to mature, but they're not old enough, they're not around the age of 12. Rather, they start maturing even at a younger age. So anios, so the younger worlds, let's say 9 years old, right? So the poor ones, the fellows they used to use lime. Ashiras, the wealthy ones, the fellows they used to go ahead and use flour to go ahead and remove the hair, the unwanted hair, because it was growing too soon. It would look, it was different. And B'nas Malachim, and the high, the 1%ers, right? Then b'shemen or they used to go ahead and use the olive oil. So there 6 months, right? By Esther. 6 months they used the Shemen Or. My Shemen Or was Shemen Or. So Rav Huna Barchia Amar Sateches. He said Sateches. So what's that? Rav Yerim Bayami Amar Shemen Zayis Olive Oil Shlevi Shlish. They did not grow to a third of maturity, and they used it, made oil from there. That is this type of oil. And Tanya Rabbi Yehuda Aimer, he says Anfinkinon is Shemen Zayis Shlevi Shlish. That's also Anfinkinos, which is I guess not permitted, I believe, to go ahead. All right, they can't go ahead and bring the oil. Right, the mikdash, they can't use the oil. What type of oil it is? And and that's shemen zayis shlevi shlish. That's olive oil that is that the olives are not grown to a third yet. But lama sachinos. Why do they go ahead and smear it on? Shanish yasasar. They used to go ahead and remove the hair, and it would basically would make the skin glow. And Rav Bibi Avile Barta, he had a daughter Tavla Aver. So he went ahead and he put lime on each and shakal ba dal me'azuzay. He had a daughter, and he did limb by limb, and he I guess used lime, and her skin glowed so much that she got 400 zuz was her ksuba. And Aviyahu Kusi Bishkvuse. And there was, I guess he had a Goyish neighbor, the Havile Barta, he also had a daughter, Satafla B'chadzimna. So instead of putting all limb by limb, he put all the lime on her once, right? Umason, she died. Omar, and he said, Kotla Bibi Labarte, right? Basically, Bibi killed my daughter, right? I just copied what he did, and my daughter died. He's like a murderer. So Amar Rav Nachman says, no, Rav Bibi, the Shazi Shikha, Rav Bibi, I guess, used to drink beer in the house a lot. So they drank beer in the house, Bein Bante, Tafla, right? So they went ahead and they drink beer in the house. So therefore, that it wasn't, so therefore, she needed a lime. In other words, because I guess the drinking the beer, puts hair in her chest, right? Grows grows a lot of hair. So therefore, she needed the lime, and therefore the lime was basically fought off the effects of the beer. However, Anandala, she's in Shikha, but us, we don't drink beer regularly like they did in the house of Bibi. Therefore, we don't require what's it called? We don't require the hair removal like there, and therefore that was the reason why this certain neighbor's daughter died, but Rav Bibi's did not. All right, we'll stop here. Shkoyach, everybody. Sunday, Meretz Hashem. We'll continue from here at